Ankita Bhambri joining us to discuss the Indian athletics, the future, and also cheer for the Indian contingent. Ankita Bhambri, Indian tennis player and coach, thanks very much for joining us. My first question to you, this is really history in the making at the athletics championships. Let's talk about Neeraj Chopra first, because Neeraj Chopra is the Olympic champion. He can be the world champion as well. So he's really the shining star in Indian athletics.
First of all, I think he has brought joys and smiles to a lot of fellow, sports athletes in our country. First, he was our surprise winner in the Olympics, and he is continuing his great form in the World Championship in Oregon. We have some very exciting and big major events coming up this year, with the Commonwealth Games, Asian Games. So I think our star performer is going to be under a lot of pressure, but pressure seems to be something that he isn't being bothered by, because clearly his first throw was really huge. And I think he's paving the way for many more athletes from around the country to come train, aim big, aim high, and to be able to perform. This gives so many Indian youngsters and athletes the courage, and other sportsmen as well, not just athletes, the courage to come and train and dream, so that because they know that the road to success is possible and is very, very possible when they look up to stars like Neeraj.
And Ms. Bhambri, let's also talk about Rohit Yadav, the second Indian in the fray. He qualified in the 11th place. He's another rising star, isn't he?
Well, see, to do it at I think, if I'm not correct me wrong, but this is his debut performance at the World Championships, correct? He did really well in the national championships at Chennai,
yes.
And then and that's how he got to the World Championship. So I think, see, this is what I just mentioned, that, when you have one star coming up, when you have one star performer, you have others following suit. You know what the road ahead is. You understand, the toughness required. You understand the training methodologies that are needed. And once we have a player, we have an athlete going down that road, performing to such, to that big heights, performing to that level, many more athletes can then come forward, which is what we are seeing now. After the Olympics, we've had some great victories, a lot of new stars emerging. They are continuing to do well, and also paving way for a lot more youngsters to come and show their results. And I think what better way to see women athletes as well, with the Anurani doing so,
yes,
performing so well as well.
Yes, Ms. Bhambri, I want to explore that point that you made a little more. You spoke about when one person in the contingent does well, how does that impact the rest of the players in the contingent? Does it boost the morale? What is the mood like when you have one star performer there, like Neeraj Chopra, as part of the contingent? How does that rub off on the other players as well?
Yeah, I think, in not just in India, but all around the world, when you have somebody from your nation who's doing well, who's in your contingent, where all eyes are looking up to them, you see their training structures, you're kind of eating with them, interacting with them. It gives a good morale boost. It gives everybody around them the confidence that if one person can do it, coming from, the same surroundings, same climate, same training, facilities, then it's a possibility for many more. And this is what will inspire the younger generation of today, his contemporaries, those who've just come into the circuit, to also, work harder, train harder, and make sure that they follow the right path, which is required to give them the success that they're all aiming for. So I think it's like a culmination of all the factors coming together. Obviously, when we talk about the star athlete, there are a lot of schemes that have come in place to make sure that we now have access to right kind of training technologies. We have access to latest, trainers and coaches. I think with the government and the top scheme coming in, there is a lot of help that the athletes have today. Not just the athletes, we other sports person as well. We saw PV Sindhu do really well last week. So all of them are top sportsmen, and when they are all performing, I think the entire nation and the younger generation that is following them, that is looking at them and aspiring to be them, will all be motivated to train and work harder.
Ms. Bhambri, what we see at the world stage is only tip of the iceberg. What is unseen in these athletes' life and a sports person like you, is the hard work, the struggles, the challenges that the athlete goes through, the sports person goes through. Tell us what makes these athletes a world-class player. What goes into it?
That is clearly a point to make, that this is not the end, or this is not the beginning of any athlete's life. The training starts when they're 4, 5, 6, when they have their parents taking them to the ground day in, day out, despite the failures or the few success they make en route to their journey. This is just a journey that goes on and on, till you fulfill that dream of making it big, whether it's at the Asian Games or the Olympics or the World Championships that we are now looking at. It's a lot of factors coming together at the right time. Making sure that you get the opportunity to train with the good coaches, the opportunity to perform and compete with world-class athletes in these big events. So I think the amount of dedication, determination of the team, the parental support, the support of the school and organizations that come together to make an athlete cannot be discounted. So it's a very, very long journey. And I clearly mention this day in, day out to all the parents, who bring their kids to train with me, that this is not a process that happens in a day, month, or a few years. It's a very long journey, and you must be prepared to go through the entire grind if you see some success at the end.
That journey is clearly unseen, but is very, very important for an athlete to reach the world stage. One final question to you, Ms. Bhambri. Indian athletics really coming of age now. What do we need to change now in the system to get more and more youngsters to come up on the world stage? What needs to change?
I think with the kind of support and structure that the top athletes have is clearly correct, because they are showing us the results. If we can learn from it and continue to provide the same kind of support, same time of whether it's training facilities, whether it's coaches, whether it's diet, or whether it's I would say tournaments, whatever, when we talk about tennis or when we talk about badminton, every sport, if you have the opportunity to train, if you have the opportunity to compete in tournaments around the world, if you can do it regularly with a bigger pool of players, if you can provide them that support, and I do not think we have a dearth of talent here, or we have a dearth of athletes who are willing to make the effort, who are willing to work hard and do whatever it takes to make it to the top. So I think we need to focus on what has been done right with these current group of athletes, and make sure those facilities are available for the next string of players, be it juniors, be it the ones who are about to make this leap into the world stage. So I think it's an entire process that needs to work from down below, ground level, coming all the way up, whether it's the top 5 best athletes, whether it's the next string of them. We need to make sure that they are provided with the best possible support.
All right, Ankita Bhambri, thanks very much for sharing those perspectives with us. We'll all be cheering for the Indian contingent, Neeraj Chopra, Rohit Yadav, Eldos Paul and Anu Rani when they compete there at the Summit Clash at the World Athletics Championships. Thanks very much, Ms. Bhambri, for joining us this afternoon.